आप्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक्प्राणश्चक्षुः श्रोत्रमथो बलमेन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदम् माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्याम् मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत् अनिराकरणमस्तु अनिराकरणं मेस्तु तदात्मनि निरते य उपनिषत्सु धर्मास्ते मयि सन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ May all my limbs attain strength. May the body, the mind, all the sensory and motor organs become powerful and efficient. All is verily the one without second, ever perfect, ever blissful, infinite existence itself, the Brahman. May I never deny this truth of oneness. May this truth never reject me either. The experience of Brahman requires cultivation of some virtues described by the scriptures. May those virtues be with me. Om, peace, peace, peace. Let us meditate on this truth of oneness. By disidentifying ourselves with the body or the subtle body, both. Let us take the gross and subtle body off from us, just like we take out the heavy coats when we get into warm weather. And then, lo and behold, there is no distinction whatsoever. We see everything is the one blissful existence, the Brahman. Let us feel the oneness even now as I enter into the body mind. Body mind are different, but I am not that. Let us keep this awareness. Om, peace, peace, peace. So, dear friends, let us begin today's discussion. We are starting the new section today, the new volume, the sixth volume. So, we saw in the fifth volume the description of Priyavrata and then various such stories. And then we concluded with the story of Bharata. A small portion is still remaining, and it is the stories like we saw story of Rishabha, story of Bharata is very important story because it illustrates the principle of how our mind makes us uh, get deluded and attached. It is said very correctly that the liberation and bondage and liberation, both are the functions of mind. The self is unchanging. It is only the mind that causes bondage. When that mind is purified, one becomes liberated. But let us begin at the beginning with our opening chant. जन्माद्यस्य यतोऽन्वयादितरतश्चार्थेष्वभिज्ञस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्महृदाय आदिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकम् सत्यं परं धीमहि. That from whom creation, sustenance and dissolution of the universe take place, who is both instrumental and material cause of it, who is omniscient, is the only one having self mastery, being the one independent entity, who illumined the mind of Brahma with the Vedic revelation, whose wisdom is the wonder of even the greatest sages, in whom the world of the three gunas subsists, just as the combination of materials like fire, water, and earth subsist in their causes without changing their elemental nature, in whose consciousness there is nothing false. On that truth supreme we meditate. So, this truth supreme, which Vedanta describes, is transcendental and immanental both. It is in and through everything, and yet not contained or contaminated by anything. not contained in anything, and not contaminated by anything. So, we have to see this truth that the pictures on in the movie, they are on the screen. The screen is in each of them, but the pictures as such do not touch the screen. Whatever happens in the movie does not tarnish the screen. The screen remains untouched. And the screen is appearing as all these pictures. So that one divine being appears as this whole universe. It is never separated from it. Howsoever we may say that I am away from God, we are never really away from God. And this is to be kept firmly in mind that the picture in the movie is always connected with the screen. The screen penetrates every pore of it. So, in the same way, whatever good or bad things we may do, we are never away from God. And this is something that has to be constantly thought about, because one sometimes thinks that, oh, I did so many bad things and now so God has rejected me. No, there is no rejection at all. And that story we shall see in a little while, the story of Ajamila. But before that, to conclude, what we were uh, seeing towards the end of Bharata's story, that we see there is the description of the forest of this samsara. They all endless appearing this world. Therefore, it is the word samsara, means comes again and again. And there is you do something, then you have the result of it to take, and that result again in turn becomes an action. So again you have to get it. So it keeps on happening all the time, and in the course of this, one experiences all sorts of experiences of subject object, that we get pulled into many things, sucked into many things, and thus we suffer also. The suffering as such is not good, but it is much worse when we run to it for pleasure. It is, see, what a disappointment if you go for the promise of a very good medication. That medication you feel is going to cure your whatever ailment is, and then that medicine turns out to be a poison. So what a disappointment. So exactly like this in this world, we run after many things. Nobody ever goes to get with the idea to get misery. Everybody feels, if I get this, I will be so happy. And yet, it turns out that we get misery in the name of happiness. And this is this samsara. It goes on dragging us, dragging us. And like a forest, you lose your way very easily. It is those of you who have the experience of trekking in some deep forest, you have to be very careful as to what track you are on, how to return, and all that. And they are for the trekkers, they are all well marked these days. But suppose there is something unmarked, you enter there and one gets lost so easily. There are difficult to find any landmarks. Everything appears just same. All the directions are lost. What is east, what is west, all gets drowned because you don't see any sun. So to determine the direction becomes very difficult. This is what our existence in this world is. So it is described like this in a dense forest. You keep on moving on the track. Therefore, it is like a labyrinth. But this unending labyrinth, you feel frustrated, want to, therefore leave the path, go somewhere else, maybe thinking that there will be a shortcut somewhere there. Then you have all these very attractive things there, and so you then forget which way to go in the labyrinth, east or west or left or right, and thus keep on unendingly moving into it from different bodies in the course of this, because of the various desires and all different actions that one performs. We keep on getting reborn in various bodies. So Bharata tells that this is how, O king, he is telling this king Rahugana that this is how the life here is. So be very cautious, very careful. Uh, just hold on to the feet of Hari, feet of the Lord, and thus you will get out of it. And especially be very mindful about the attractions and repulsions and getting attached to anything here. Hmm. As soon as we go for enjoyment to any single thing, howsoever nice and harmless it may appear, we get immediately caught by it. That is how the attachments develop. And they don't leave us very easily. The attachments are so difficult to, get away from. So it is the best thing is, do not get caught. If you get caught, then think how you can get out of it by following the advice of the sages, being in their holy company, by holding on to the devotional practices. It is one has to take recourse to the principle of discernment to know many things, understand many things. But for almost all of us, our intellect is very, very weak. It is, many argue that no, you see, I can do this sharp analysis. Many are, as such, in the worldly sense, very, very intelligent. But their intelligence is sharp, but not powerful. Means the two things are very different. And let us at least have this much intelligence to understand the difference between a sharp intellect and a strong intellect. And this is many of us have tremendously sharp intellect, but a little blow from this sense desires, the intelligence breaks there, becomes slave to the objects of so-called enjoyment. So that is why, while it is to be used, an ordinary person cannot rely on it. Ordinary in the sense that all those who are attached and do not have that strong power of discernment. And such people are very few and far between who have that strength of intellect. Maybe there was one Shankaracharya, or one Buddha, one Ramakrishna, one Vivekananda, but otherwise we just succumb to those things very, very fast. And therefore, the way is to hold on to God, hold on to Lord, and then we come out of this terrible forest of samsara. It is that there is the question then of asked by the sage, that King Parikshit, to whom Shukra is telling all these stories, that please describe in more details this forest, how it acts upon us. So he says that there are so many wonderful, teachings that are given here. We have seen many of these things over this the so many classes, but something is uh, sometimes I will read a few things. Sometimes infatuated with sense enjoyment, which to a discerning mind are elephant like mirage, ephemeral like mirage. The jiva gets engrossed with eating, drinking, and mating. Sometimes the jiva comes across gold, the source of all evils. Gold means money. The money, like Shankaracharya also says, artham anartham bhavayan nityam. Money becomes the root cause of all these evils that follow, because money is something that only human beings have. No other animals have this idea of money. And then it is, if you see the theory of money, it is just a big hoax. Money, it is, it depends on so many things. What is the value of it? But we keep on gathering it more and more and getting addicted to it. So, this is so alluring, because it is thought that all that we need can be bought by money. And so, even wise people, they find it difficult to get away from this attraction of money. Many just keep their discernment away for money. We see this in the this drug industry. If the company wants, drug makers want a medication to be promoted, they give in various different ways bribes, so that that drug gets promoted. The research is published. It is that research is true and not true both. Means that research is for the presentation of that research is to glorify in or highlight some good potential in that medication, and hide means do not speak about some bad things that may come out of it. It is using the psychology of common people. It is pushed on them. Now, why a person knowingly does like that? The answer is simple. The power of discernment has become slave to money. Money, I want money, so that the life can be led very nicely. So, this is a completely wrong idea. So, therefore, one gets trapped in that, uh, prompted by rajas, which is of the same color as gold. He goes to take it, but the pursuit of the bright metal only brings on him all around trouble. Just as a man who, distressed by intense cold, runs towards a flaming devil. Mm, this is the devil. It's like a fire there, uh, and I am suffering from cold. So it is so cold outside. So I go to that fire, being just tortured by that devil. There is that famous story, somebody thinking that it is a blanket. Went to get it because it was so cold. And then the blanket got it. The fellow didn't get blanket because what he thought to be a blanket was, what was it, Charlie? A bear, yeah. So bear then fulfilled its bare necessities. It is catching hold of that fellow. So this is what happens to us, thinking that this is going to bring me joy. It describes in very scathing terms, it is a person will find it difficult to read this because it uses uh, some phrases, which we actually associate with all our loving connections. Uh, it is, so I'm not going to read everything, but it says there are wolves here in the forest, there are all different wolves. So, how are these wolves? We call them, we come across these wolves, thinking that they are my like parents, my spouse, my children, and get consumed by them. These are to be seen as wolves. Actually, Sri Ramakrishna used to say these close relatives as deep, dark wells. If you go closer, you may fall into them. So, because they cause so much of attachment that, and then you get all drifted everywhere because of this terrible bondage that you create with these wolves. Now, what will happen? It is Shankaracharya describes that Deha Poshanarthi San Ya Atmanam Didrikshati. This is in Vivek Chudamani. That if somebody wants to realize the self, but he is after just pampering the body. Now it is how much chance this fellow has to realize God or Atman, as much chance as a person has to uh, wade through the waters of the river by holding on to a crocodile, thinking that that crocodile is a log of wood. It is so no chance at all. The fellow will be completely, it will go to the other bank only in this belly of crocodile. So it is like that. They all these bodily connections, they are all aspects of our physical connection. They are like that, and one goes after those and thus gets entangled. Then it explains. Says Shuka tells Parikshit the greatness of Bharata, and I will read some part of it. A fly cannot emulate the flight of Garuda. Even so, no other king has found it possible, even mentally, to emulate the example of great Rajarshi Bharata, the son of Rishabha. If you remember, Rishabha was the incarnation of Lord, and Bharata was his son. Who can follow that exalted example of the one who, even as a youth, was overcome by such intense love of the Lord that he could easily abandon the filth of worldly loves, wife, children, friends, kingdom, and the like, which usually bind a human mind? So it is. So this is what Bharata was, and then even though then got deluded for a time by the attraction, forgetfulness of his real nature, that attraction in the name of compassion, and to a fawn, and thus learned the lessons. Now Bharata is teaching us that to learn the lessons do come to us in life. But the greatness of Bharata is that he learned the lessons. The lessons come to us, but we reject them. We do not learn from them. So this is the greatness of Bharata. Then there is the nice description in this very chapter about the appearance of Ganges. So we shall briefly discuss that. It is in the same fifth volume, but the chapter 17, that there is the a story of the Lord incarnating as Vamana. There is the Bali was a king of demons, although very highly devoted. He was a demon, an asura. So he was so powerful. He captured everything, and they kept the all the angels, the devas, bound, imprisoned. So now, to liberate the earth from the possession of this demon, though very highly devoted, was a demon. So Lord took the form of a little Brahmin child and went where Bali was conducting a big sacrifice. This King Bali had promised that whatever anybody asks for, he will grant it. If it is in his capability, he will surely grant it. So many people came, and this little Brahmin boy goes there. Actually, it is Vishnu in that form. So, when the king asks, "What is it that you want?" "Oh, king, I don't want much. Only 3 steps of land." And they everybody thought, that is, what is that asking? It is can be easily be granted. The King Bali is a priest. He understood that this is actually Hari, and so was preventing Bali from giving this boon. There is a process of granting the boon. It is called Tarpana. That from a, a pot, some water is poured. That water gets poured through. It is like a kettle. So this Shukracharya, the priest, he went into that outlet of this kettle. So the water was not coming out. Bali understood by this time that it is God, and so he was feeling blessed that God Himself came to me to get the boon. He was a devotee. So this little one said, "Oh, there is that something is sticking there. So take a, a, a piece of hay and put it there so that the obstacle will be removed, the blockage will go away, and the water will fall." And the king did that, making this Shukracharya blind by one eye. And poured it. Now the 3 feet of land, 3 steps of land, by his one step, the whole uh, earthly domain has been occupied. And by the second step, all the uh, heavenly and netherly domains, they also got occupied. No land is left. Ah, and what the 3 steps have been granted. And this Vamana asks, "Where to put now my third foot? Third step, where to put it?" Bali bends down his head, and Vamana steps on that and pushes that Bali into the nether world, and granted the boon also that there you will cultivate the devotion to me more and more. But in this whole process, now uh, this whole what is called Brahmanda, the egg of the universe, as it were, the egg of Brahman. These are beautiful imageries. This egg. Now, this Vamana, the Lord, in the form of this little child, uh, presses that with his toe. And then the egg, even if you push it by finger, it breaks. So, but this egg of the universe, now this Vamana presses it with his toe, and like the ordinary eggs have fluid that starts coming out, this from this Brahmanda a fluid came out. That is what is called the river Ganges, the Ganga. Oh, and there is a spelling mistake by me. That Ganga, one G is missing. That English is okay. That the Ganges originated from the toe of the Lord in the form of Vamana, and therefore it is because of this touch of the Lord, it became the waters are sanctified with the touch of Lord's feet, and are thus carrying the unique capability of washing away sins. Millions of sages accepted that. Billions of ordinary people also believe that, bringing a huge gathering to have a holy dip therein. So that is why Ganges is considered to be very holy waters. Sri Ramakrishna also used to think like that. The Ganges is so holy. So it is after discussing this, we will now come. We will be leaving out a lot of description about the various worlds and what happens there. It is a very long description, but has very little spiritual significance to it, unless you one meditates on that very deeply. Obvious at the superficial text level, it is just a description. Moreover, those contexts are not available now, so it is impossible to understand what particular region or realm is being discussed. So we will skip that part and come to now this sixth volume, uh, that it is the story Ajamila episode. So Ajamila He was from a good upbringing. Uh, this Parikshita said, "You, worshipful sir, have at first expounded the means for emancipation from transmigratory existence, following the method of gradual release. It consists in practicing divine communion through different disciplines and attaining to Brahma's realm, and from there attaining release from embodied existence at the time of the pralaya, along with Brahma himself. This is called Krama Mukti in Vedanta. Means it is comparable, to say you build a space station, and from that space station you take another leap to different other planets. When the landing on the moon was done, then it was not a direct landing. There was a kind of space station circulating there around in the orbit of the moon, and then a different spacecraft then was sent on the moon. So that is how the one was kept circumambulating these people who landed on the moon, then again came to that one, and then traveled back to earth. So in liberation also, there is this possibility that you may not get a direct non-stop access to liberation. You may, because of a lot of good works, austerities, spiritual disciplines, all that when you follow, then you get to a realm called Brahmaloka. It is a loka, means it is a world. There is subject object there, but yet it is a very high level realm where the impurities are very few. And if you have gone there with the idea of still continuing with sadhana, your spiritual practice, then there also you will continue with the spiritual practice and thus will get liberated. Otherwise, you will get thrown out. This liberation is along with Brahma. Brahma getting liberation, then you also get liberation if you are continuing with your spiritual practice. There is a verse in Bhagavad Gita that the one who holds on to God gets liberated directly. Those who do not have that much a spirit of renunciation and detachment, they hold on to Lord but still have lingering in this world, in the world of enjoyment. So they purify themselves gradually and attain to what is called Brahmaloka. Bhagavad Gita says that all these worlds, that the world of heaven, world of angels, world of these other heavenly beings, all these are subject to go and come back. There is no liberation there. So, Brahma Bhuvanaloka Punaravartino Arjuna. Arjuna, all these different uh, domains of existence, including the domain of Brahma. So there is a debate about it. Brahma means up to Brahma Loka. So whether it includes Brahma Loka or excludes Brahma Loka. Like somebody says, well, I have studied up to graduation. Means did the fellow graduate, or up to means didn't graduate, up to that the study was didn't complete. That could also be the meaning. So Brahmaloka, whether the person actually uh, goes to Brahmaloka, and then they even Brahmaloka is included in the all those fields that have to come back, or Brahmaloka, if you go there, then you have a kind of security, you do not come back. What is the exact interpretation? So, many those who have deeply devotionally studied Bhagavad Gita, uh, they are of the opinion that even in Brahmaloka, if you go, only as a result of your good actions, but not of devotion. Then you go to Brahmaloka, but the result of your being there goes gradually diminishing. So one day that karma, your cash is over and you are again thrown back onto the earth. But if you have gone there and you continue with your spiritual practice there, now the situation is different. Now you are not thrown back. When the Brahma's term is over, now Brahma's term, it is a job, like as president is elected for say 4 years. So after 4 years, gone. If he has already had two terms, then that's it. Cannot even fight another for another term. So it is in that case you get liberated along with Brahma. Brahma's term is over, and then the whole universe dissolves, uh, and then everybody attains liberation. You also attain liberation in that process. So this is what Parikshit is referring to, the krama mukti. You have also described the life of involvement in samsara, how driven by the forces of karma the jiva is born repeatedly in different spheres, all of which are constituted of the evolutes of the three gunas of Prakriti. The various purgatories which await evildoers were also described. Besides, uh, uh, Manvantaras, the periods of the rules of Manus, the first of whom was Swayambhuva Manu. So it is described, these things have been described. Uh, the description of the dynasties has been done, the Uttanapada and Priyavrata. So we saw all this, and then he says, O Holy One, now it behoves you to explain how man can save oneself from the sufferings of the purgatory described by you. The path by which one doesn't have to go into the purgatory but goes to liberation by the grace of God. Now, grace is something that has no logic. It is not a right. If it is matter of logic, rational, then it is matter of right. I had mentioned that it is once in my these bachelor's degree that there is was a provision there for the professors to give grace mark, by which then even if suppose some student is failing by 2 3 marks, then there was a provision up to 5 marks they can be added, and thus the person can be pushed into the pass category instead of fail category, and goes into pass category. Mm. And then uh, I was pushed to the pass category uh, by because in one subject I got a bit less marks. So the professor added 4 marks to make me pass. But had he added one more mark, then that is because his 5 marks can be added. Then I reasoned with him, why did you not add five? I would have got then A grade. Ah, he said, that is grace. It is, you can't demand it. It is matter of just grace. I could give you only so that you get into the pass category, but I will not give you grace to get you an A grade. So, so grace is something like that. There is no logic to it. Logically, you are not. Uh, you cannot demand it, but you can pray for it, and then it is up to the one who gives or doesn't give. It depends on that. So that is the grace of God, therefore cannot be demanded. But mm, um, these questions come very often, that how this man was liberated, although had committed so many sins. Did commit sins, but maybe not as many as this fellow. And why I was not liberated? God seems to be whimsical God. Hmm. It is, these words are used when we are at the receiving end. That whimsical God, see, that fellow got liberated and I did not get liberated. Sri Ramakrishna gives this analysis that, grace, Lord is like a small child. Ah, if God has something, if you ask, God won't give you. But maybe at some moment a child may get bored with what it has, and then will give you. And then, so how did this fellow got, how that, it is a question that is not answerable by rational discussion. Only you can get into rational discussion, but you may not be able to get the proper answer of it. That maybe you don't know the what in the past life, so many good deeds that person has done, and therefore he got the liberation in this birth. It is not an accident, but these are just explanations, not having much rational basis to it, because it is matter of grace. Another idea about this grace is very, very important to know, that if it is a matter of law, then what happens? And then our liberation also becomes impermanent. It is being a result of something. The cause is limited, so the result also has to be limited. So it is, therefore, when we say that rationally I should get liberation, not rationally. It is only by the grace you get it. It is thus to show that it is beyond reason. It is, so you continue with your spiritual practice, but do not think that it is the result of that, because it is our true nature. You don't have to get it at all. It is getting is just seeing, experiencing. It is like I lost my phone, and looking here and there everywhere. That where did I put it? And I was not finding it. And then found it right on my desk in front of me. So now, uh, what was was it the result of my running about here and there? How did I find the phone? Well, just a chance, it was there, so you could find it. Had it not been there, then you would have moved all around the world, you wouldn't have found it. So, therefore, because the phone is there, one can find it. So, similarly, God being my true nature, I can find it. I get that by the virtue of I being that. So that is how the process cannot be therefore labeled as logically streamlined process. You do spiritual practice. Many get miffed at that. That what do you mean? So if I do spiritual practice, is there no guarantee? No guarantee. If you don't want to do it, okay, suffer. There is no guarantee that it is not a 4 year degree course at the schools that after 4 years you get the diploma. No, not like that. It is, you can keep on doing it. How much? Well, don't worry about it. How much when you till you reach there, that's all. It is not guaranteed at all. So let us not think that if I spend 5 years, 10 years doing mantra, what Charlie? That then I must get it. No, no, keep on doing it. That is what you should do because that will make you more and more pure. That's all. Continue doing it. I remember that one that person who had taken initiation. So after getting initiated, every 4 or 5 months he would call and said and used to say, "Well, Swami, I don't know what is happening. I don't think I am progressing at all." For about he always after 4 5 months he would call, "Swami, I think I am just wasting my time. Nothing is happening. I am trying to do the japam, but it is nothing is happening." So I said, "Okay, if nothing is happening, what can I do? Try not doing it and see if that makes any progress." And then he said, "Oh, Swami, you got a point there. By not doing it is you are not going to progress. But by doing, well, how long will it take? There is no guarantee to it." So, this is the story here. Shuka said, unless a man does expi- expiations even here in this world for the sins he has committed by his mind, speech, and organs, he is sure to undergo the fierce suffering of the purgatories I described to you. Therefore, long before death, sufficiently early in life, when the mind and the body have not become decrepit, man should do expiations for whatever sins he has done. So this one has to keep on cleaning the mind as much as possible till it becomes perfectly clean. According to their seriousness, just as a physician skilled in diagnosis, treats diseases with remedies appropriate to the prevailing conditions. So that is how you should keep on trying. Don't be illogical. The idea here is that in search of grace, one thinks that, okay, so let me not rely on my efforts. Let me stop doing efforts. It is not so. One has to keep on performing all the proper practices full fledged. But then, does it guarantee anything? No. We shall continue this study of Ajamela in our next class. This is a very popular story, and then there are so many questions that come because of that in that discussion. So let us conclude with our closing this chant, and then in case if you have questions, then please feel free to voice or text them. निगमकल्पतरोर्गलितं फलं शुकमुखादमृतद्रवसंयुतं पिबत भागवतं रसमालयं मुहुरहो रसिका भुवि भावुकाः. O devotees, quaff, quaff to intoxication this nectar of the fruit of the tree of Vedas, flowing from the mouth of the great sage Shuka and mixed with the ambrosia from his words. Any questions? You have a question? Okay. Two, okay.
Is it better to pray for your own liberation or for other people to be liberated?
Oh, well, pray for the liberation of the other people. If you can. It is, see, speaking comes very easy. They actually, it is so difficult to pray for others. It is only some very great selfless souls can pray that, and they are already liberated, so they can pray easily for the liberation of others. Otherwise, that prayer won't come at all. You may say that by lips, and you should, but that doesn't actually bring the prayer from the heart. You heard in the aeroplanes that they tell first put your mask, then help the others. It is not possible for us to pray for the liberation of others really sincerely, because in everywhere you see our interest takes priority than the interest of somebody else. So it is a very good, morally very nice idea to pray for the liberation of others, and what happens with that is you get liberated. How? If you are sincerely praying for the liberation of others, your selfishness reduces. Your that limited I keeps on getting reduced, and thus you go towards liberation by praying for the liberation of others. That is the psychology of it.
And what's the difference between Brahma Loka and Ramakrishna Loka?
Very similar, I will tell you about it when I go there. It is see, it is Ramakrishna Loka is also like that, that you otherwise remain only associated with Sri Ramakrishna, but do not get liberated because you do not step out of that particular form and so forth. You say, yeah. Uh, any question?
Yes. There are 3 web questions. First question is from G. First question is from G.P. Krishnamurti.
Yes, G.P. Krishnamurti.
Dear Maharaj, Sashtang Pranams, how can a being be classified as Asura if he is devoted?
If he is a devotee, huh?
Yes.
That is actually because his lineage is Asura. Because of the lineage, he got branded as Asura, and he had also in his what can be called these days DNA. In his DNA, there are some Asura tendencies too. So, but the point here is because of the heightened devotion, all those tendencies gradually got eliminated, and therefore he got the touch of Lord and remained all the time as the devotee of God. Yes.
Second question is from Sucheta Gule.
Yes.
If everybody has to wait in Brahma Loka for liberation, then what is Sadhyo Mukti or instant Mukti?
Instant, not everybody. If you become pure in this very life, then you don't have to go to Brahmaloka and wait there. Sadhya Mukti means to see that you are free right here and now. Uh, just see this that you have no fetters. You are all pervading. It is to be seen, like Vivekananda says, don't seek God, see God. Uh, s- as if you know everything that you are in front of God only. There is nothing else but God. Whatever you are seeing, whatever you are experiencing, where is God apart from that? That is God. And there is nothing apart from that. Like when you are watching a movie, you are seeing actually the screen alone. In front of you, there is nothing else but screen. The problem is, I am not seeing it as a screen. So, when can see everything as God, in that truth dawns upon me, then there is Sadhyo Mukti, liberation right here. Here and now one is liberated by seeing that everything is actually God. So therefore Sri Ramakrishna told somebody who said that I want to see God in everything. He said that that is the last stage, ultimate stage of spiritual life, to see God everywhere in everything. Nothing but God is seen. Yes. Thank you. Any other question?
Yes. Last question is from Taraswin. The question has three related parts. Dear Revered Maharaj, pranams.
Pranams.
Does the mind of a Jivatma sit inside the body or outside it? Where are the samskaras stored in it? How does it get the energy needed to work?
Well, it is firstly the word inside or outside. It is those references are not applicable here. Inside and outside, and these divisions are related to certain this understanding that like whether your money is in purse or outside the purse. Yeah, so there the words inside and outside are understandable, but where are the sanskaras kept? The our language compels us to say that they are kept in mind. But Mind is nothing apart from sanskaras. All these impressions together, the storehouse of impressions, that is called chitta or mind in English language. It is the storehouse of all sanskaras. It is nothing else. Like if you are given a lump of sugar, just giving this very standard, nice example though, giving that if you are given a lump of sugar, now where is the sugar, inside the lump or outside the lump? Well, there is nothing inside, outside. That lump is sugar. It is all pervaded completely with sugar. So the impressions are like that. And they have their various different stages of getting manifested. All impressions do not get manifested simultaneously. Ah, just as all your memories do not get expressed at the same time, just as your all the files on your machine, they do not open on your this monitor screens simultaneously. It will be a big problem if that happens. If you have 5,000 files, these days many computer users have minimum that many. So if all the files jump out on the monitor screen, it will be a chaos. So whatever is being worked on, it comes out. So this is how the sanskaras, they come up, they get forward as they uh, first power that they get is that they come on the surface. Then what happens is that one dwells on it. Like when some file is opened on your computer, now you start working on that file. So you work on that sanskara, and that makes it uh, far more expressed and powerful. And then it becomes active. You connect it to an organ of action. Like then you say, let me print it out. So you connect that file to the printer to get the print out. That is like connecting it to the output device. So that our organs of actions are like output devices. So that is how the sanskaras, they get expressed in the outer world, like whatever you had in the computer. It comes on the your monitor screen. You work on it, and then it is you connect it to the printer. Click the button, print. Yeah. You tell how many copies you want to print, and then it gets printed out. So that is how the sanskaras, they come out, they get expressed. Now here is another question which is impossible to answer, that how, who brings them out? Who brings them out? It is according to this two, three different things they come out. One is your desire to do something with it, it makes it come out. Then there is the external need for which it comes out. Like you see, for example, something nice with some person, that say a particular dress, and then that desire in you gets a boost, that impression, that sanskara in it gets a boost by seeing it, and then now you go to get it. So that is the some external we call it external because it is outside the body. So that seeing something external, you get that impression awakened and then go after it. So this is how the impressions they get strength as well. Thank you. So let us conclude with our closing chant. Tomorrow is the day for the day long silent meditation from noon to 8 p.m. So, those who would like to come for that, please enter before the noon time. At noon time, the door will get closed. मुकुंद माधव गोविंद बोल केशव माधव हरि हरि बोल मुकुंद माधव गोविंद बोल केशव माधव हरि हरि बोल हरि हरि बोल हरि हरि बोल कृष्ण कृष्ण बोल कृष्ण कृष्ण बोल कृष्ण कृष्ण बोल कृष्ण कृष्ण बोल मुकुंद माधव गोविंद बोल केशव माधव हरि हरि बोल केशव माधव हरि हरि बोल।